Hello, hello, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. This is the Toga list I got up on screen that I played over in Pasadena. And I've got a sub goal. I don't know if it's readable or not on the screen, but I've got a little bar there, and it's to do the bounty hunting for Asui 2. If I get 100 subs before the next online provisional on September, I think it's 23rd, 24, 24, 25. I'll play Asui 2. I'll do my best to make the top cuts. It should be a big enough event. Like all the webcam events have been, 100 plus people, I think is the minimum for the bounty. So I'll go after that. I think Asui 2 is like a real shot at a top 16. I think any deck that can put 4 damage on tape swing can pressure especially 7-handers in the format, but most decks. But she does kind of have to do some extra work compared to other characters, and Sero 2 probably is better, but anyhow, those are the bounties, so I've got a goal for that. But other than that, I figured I would start with the deck profile and then just kind of give my thoughts, on the format as I saw it. I'm going to try and remember the matches I played. I played a lot of cool people. I played some newer players. Everyone was pretty nice. I did have like my first judge calls, which was kind of cool, but they were all stuff that I was like super prepared for, stuff that never really came up outside of, the life symbol, basically. Like I was expecting to get judge calls when I played Danky with Sports Festival because of like all the different stuff that goes on. And Toga has similar timing, right? They both have stuff that triggers on block that opens up other windows. So I was expecting like some stuff like that, and it finally happened. But they were all handled super fast. Like, it was literally just like, hey, Judge, Faith Shield versus Ochako. And they're like, this is how it works. And it's like, cool. Thumbs up. Never had an issue actually at all. But we did have to just like double confirm, like double check with the judge. So I'm going to organize it by difficulty here, and I'll start with the 4 ready, get, set, go. It's a super big deck. It's 70 cards, including character, 20 attacks, 44 foundations, the single tray sheet cape, and 4 actions. This was super important for the deck. It's just a really good card. It makes going second bearable. But the biggest thing is this in combination with new training method let me be mega fucking greedy on my 3 diffs. One of the things that made me think like a deck like this wouldn't really work out super well early on was I need rescue completed to do a Momo impression. Like I need rescue and release. And I was kind of worried that I would just get clunky hands where I draw too many 3 difficulty cards, and even in like a really big deck and with the 7 hand size and stuff that might have been an issue, but ready, get, set, go was there for me all the time. Going first, I got to ready, get, set, go people to build like my final 2. So like that was a big deal. Like a lot of people who are willing to play around ready, get, set, go going first don't even think about it going second. So if I build 4 foundations and the last 2 cards in my hand are like rescue completed and another 2 diff, like someone with style, whatever, they would come into play a lot there. So quite a few games going second where I did get to respond, ready, get, set, go, and just play out my whole hand going first. And that definitely helped me a lot because I don't think my deck was tuned very well for dealing damage in the matchups. Hey, Barry, what's going on, man? It was cool to see you at the event. Thanks for judging. I'm glad they got back to you. I'm glad you were able to judge the event. I was just talking a minute ago. I don't know if you were here, but I was talking about how I got my first judge calls during games at a regional event in person. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, ready, get, set, go. Massively important. Super, super great card. +1 high block even. Like, so I was willing to just hold this. Like, I'd filter out back alley haymakers out of a lot of my clunky hands early on because they were a +2 block and this is a +1, right? And like, a couple of games even where like things were starting to stall out and my opponent would build like from 6 to 10 on like turn 3, I would respond ready, get, set, go, and just build down my 2 face shields and just be like, okay, we're changing the tone of the match. You know, like this is going to incentivize you to attack me at least a little bit. Same man, I had fun at the event. I had some sleep issues, so I was a little spaced, but I tried to stay vigilant. Yeah, I know how that goes. I do wonder about the people I roomed with, because I was with 3 people. They all pretty much slept through the night, but I didn't get to sleep until like 4 or 5-ish each time. So like, I'm just a night owl. Normally I go outside and I walk around, but it was so hot. Like the weather was just so actually miserable. And the neighborhood we were in wasn't that great. Normally I'm like, you know, we're like near a venue, like a downtown, like, you know, or like in the actual hotel, like, or too close to an airport where there's, you know, nowhere to really walk around. But like, normally I would just like go hang out in a parking lot or something. But this time I mostly just like sat in the shower so the light didn't bother people. So yeah, it was pretty weird. Definitely felt like I didn't make top cuts because I slept, though. I'm still superstitious about that. I think I need to fix my sleep schedule for tournament play. That should actually be a goal. Like, instead of being superstitious and just making shit up about why I don't make top cuts, I should actually just take responsibility for my sleep schedule. But my natural sleep schedule is always like in the morning. So it's just how it is. Maybe if I can like get it just corrected like way before an event, like if I can just set it up so that I'm used to waking up at like 3 a.m., I can get like the best of both worlds. I don't know. Either way, I had fun. I'm glad you had fun, man. I hope you guys got compensated well. I hope no one gave you a hard time. I hope that it was easy. You guys had all the answers. I didn't run into any bad rulings myself. I didn't see anything. The only one that was really notable, I feel so bad for anyone here for the deck who's watching this for the deck profile at this point. The only thing that I saw that might have even been like weird with a judge was Travis was playing next to me. Travis Tangeman got second place. Congrats, bud. Another Unfun Stuff sponsored player. On an absolute tear right now. Anyway, he his opponent tried to respond keen observation to him paying with God, I had to be excited for blood, right? Yeah, it's the only cost that the Momo would have. So he was trying to pay 2 life with excited for blood, and his opponent flipped keen, and he's like, nah, it's not how it works. And like, I'm trying to play my game, so I have no clue what's actually said or like what set him off or whatever. But the next thing I know, they're like, all right, cool, let's call a judge. And Travis is trying to explain to the judge, you know, what's up. And the other guy got upset and like interrupted him and was like, why don't we let the judge decide or whatever. And I don't know what I don't know what Travis said, because he didn't say anything wrong, you know. I think the only thing is, I guess the guy was upset because he was just like kind of answering the question in the question, right? He was like, explain to the judge, I paid 2 life with excited for blood. He tried to keen observation, but he can't because it's cost. And the guy was like upset because he put like the reason why. And he's like, let's let the judge decide, you know. And so things got heated for a minute, but it was pretty weird. I don't think it really, you know. The judge was on top of it too. The judge was like, nope, let's just stop. Let me just give this ruling. This is easy. The judge just cut it out, you know, like immediately put their foot down and was like, all right, well, keen observation does not respond to price for peace or price for excited for blood. It doesn't respond to excited for blood because it's a cost, and this says due to effect. Like, easy, boom, walked away. Like, you know, they did have another judge come over and tell him to cool down, but yeah, just kind of weird. I don't know. And it is weird because there's always effects that don't specify, right? Like excited for blood doesn't specify. I don't think they like that I tend to stay on the outside of the rows instead of walking through aisles because I wanted to see the entire scope of the room, which is how I was taught as an MTG judge. Yeah, I think I think it's really strange. I would want my judge staff to just kind of meander and do both, right? Like I don't think there's anything really set in stone, you know? But like there's no reason not to have them walking through the aisles, like checking on games, seeing stuff. Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird. I could see that. I know that I remember when Tam, I think, was talking to one of the judges during Top Cuts who was trying to watch the match, and they were telling him, hey, you got to stay like way outside here, whatever, which, we're players, that makes sense. Or, more accurately at that point, we're spectators, right? So, having the Top Cuts walled off makes sense. Anyhow, let's get back. Let me hammer through this deck list. We'll talk judging in a minute. I'll talk my judge stories as after we get through it, because it was only a couple things, and it was like the same couple cards. So let me power through this deck list for the YouTube upload. This is for the YouTube upload. So, should I get like fancy? Should I actually do like the intro over again? I can just like record this. Yeah. Oh, why is my chat not showing up again? Man, there it goes. Okay. Sorry, chat. You guys were gone. You guys didn't show up. That's fucked up. You gotta have the chat on screen. For some reason, MHA players just raise their hand instead of yelling judge. So if I'm walking through and they're behind me, I don't see them. I saw that happen to a few judges this weekend. Huh, interesting, yeah. They do say call, like verb, they do specify call for a judge, right? That's so funny. I want to talk about the judge stuff, but like it's so minor. Yeah, when I had the Faith Shield versus the Ochako response thing, my opponent and I were like, yeah, let's just call judge to confirm. And he's like looking around, he starts to look around for like a minute or whatever, like just like half a second. And I immediately raise my hand, just shout judge, and he like jumps back for a second. It's like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Yeah, so you just gotta get their attention. The faster you get it all sorted with, the faster you get it resolved. But yeah, that was one of those ones where I was just like, we got the old Faith Shield Ochaka response, what goes first, and then they even have like the card gets flipped face down by the rules now. Like there's in the rules that even if the timing wasn't in your favor, like seeing the card get moved on resolution, blah blah blah, rule stuff, boo rule stuff. Let's do the deck profile. All right. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is my 12th place Toga deck profile on the life symbol. It is a total of 70 cards, including character. I've got 20 attacks, 44 foundations, 1 asset, and 4 actions. So let's jump right into the deck, starting with the actions. I've got 4 copies of Ready, Get, Set, Go. This card is super duper important to this deck, specifically because I'm very greedy for my 3 difficulty foundations. Not only does this compensate for going second a lot, but even when going first, I was able to build out 3 or 4 foundations and then still have like a 3 difficulty and a 2 difficulty foundation in my hand, along with Ready, Get, Set, Go. And a lot of my opponents wouldn't play around it. A lot of people who are willing to play around it going first, you can't really afford to play around it going second, especially if I already built 4 foundations. So I'd get to respond with it and have both Excited for Blood and Rescue completed in the early game, as well as building out pretty much my whole hand. So on top of that, the +1 high block, also super important. I was throwing away a lot of back alley haymakers because the block mod going into my opponent's turn was just, worse than Ready, Get, Set, Go. And it's an easier card to review, sort of. Every now and then, in a couple of like very stally matches, I would also respond, ready, get, set, go on turns 3 or 4 after my opponent's building from like 6 to 10. Like, we're ready to shift into the late game. And I would just build down like 2 face shields I've been holding, right? Or something like that to just sort of change the tone of the whole game. And then the asset I have is Tray Sheet Cape. I don't have a ton of ranged attacks in this deck, but it is a deadlock threat, and picking up double tongue whip is usually good enough. But really, this is here to unflip Excited for Bloods. This is here to unflip Encouraging Training Partner. When it comes to the Momo matchup, that's probably the only card really keeping me in the game. That's the only card allowing me to even potentially go into deadlock because of the first Eon Quick Creation. So being able to rebuy those over the course of the game, definitely pretty important. Unflipping New Training Method is really good. Offensively, unflipping, like using Tight-Lipped and then unflipping something that can be used while committed, pretty good. But and of course Wall Cling, right? So it just gives you a lot of extension into the really late parts of the game, because I think this deck excels really right in the middle. It doesn't have super impressive late game threats. It does have some nasty deadlock when it like comes up. It does have like some potentially cool deadlock plays, and I did have some people basically like scoop or just realize that their deck wasn't like equipped for that kind of gameplay. But that was mostly like day 2 when I was playing teams, or just like matches I was playing, not actually in the tournament. But so it gives me a little bit of a late game, and it gives me I guess you could say additional copies. Like, I could potentially have 5 copies of Excited for Blood, right? If I unflip it over and over. But so super important in the end to just have one, but definitely something I threw away early on because I just drew it too early and it doesn't block well. Back Alley Haymaker. This is the can opener. This is the consistency card. I drew one card a lot with this deck, but it also set up my kill turns, picking up babies, picking up Tight-Lipped, stuff like that. Overall, I think I might actually cut this card, if only because I'm so 5-diff heavy that even if my opponents were open, I couldn't really capitalize on it. I lost a couple of heartbreaking games. My overall record for singles was 5-2. I lost to All Might 3 played by Jacob Johnson, and I lost to I'm blanking so bad right now. I'm the worst. What was my other loss to? Man, this is... Oh, it was on stream. That's what... I'm thinking of all my games not on stream. I lost to Sarah 1. I got absolutely rolled. I got absolutely stomped. I was not ready for that deck. Yeah. So, I was blanking because I was thinking of all the places I was sitting in the room, but not on stream. That match was a blur, by the way. It happened so fast, right? So... but yeah, so like there was... in that matchup specifically against Sarah 1, I think he's open. I played, I think, a Knife Slice first, or... something like that, like some kind of other poke. And then I do the math in my head. I'm like, if I grab this floating and then I do double tongue whip, it's like 22 exactly. He's at 21. And I sent the 5-speed back Alley Haymaker, like it's all gravy. And he blocks with the +1 mid block. And all of a sudden it's like, I wish I had thrown away this back Alley Haymaker and or these tongue whips. Like, like just built out, right? Like, and it was just such a slim margin. And again, I wasn't prepared. I didn't play that matchup super well, right? So that alone probably didn't cost me anything. But my opponent was like very tapped out. My opponent had extended into me, had gotten some value out of their turn, had knocked me down a peg, and it was my turn to come back at them. And if I had the offense that Bromley's version had, we were joking at the event. He's playing like my style of Toga list. I'm playing his style of Toga list. And I think at the end of the day, we actually value a lot of the same things. It's just I get very unsatisfied if my deck isn't like basically, like, this is exactly like my issue, right? Like, if my opponent is disrespecting me, I need to be able to punish them, and this deck didn't quite have the punishment, right? So I don't know, like 5 diffs, these would have to get moved around a lot. So back alley haymaker is still really good with the stun and the card flow, but as a 4 of, and because I'm so high block heavy, it's my most common zone, but for a good reason. I don't know if this is something I would include. I could actually see myself playing Future Charge instead of this, which is kind of depressing, but it's mostly because the bread and butter for this deck is Knife Slice, which is not a card I ever thought I would main board 4 of in a competition, and definitely not in a deck that had a chance at making top cuts, which, the elephant in the room, we didn't have enough to make a top 16, so 12th place wasn't good enough to get there, which is kind of sad. I feel like if we had been at 8 rounds, and when JJ and I played, we probably could have ID'd and gone into a win and in the next round, stuff like that, but it was the penultimate round of the tournament, and both of us knew that there was a chance that, X11 is pretty rough cut. Like, that'd be a rough bubble to not make it on, and we were going based off like I think it was Origins or Gen Con, one of those, whichever one also cut to top 8 before Toronto, right? Like where the cutoffs were. So, we just didn't have the confidence in being able to like make it in with a tie and stuff like that. So the big thing about Knife Slice is that I get too excited for blood, or I get both Toga triggers. I get to do both of my filters off one attack, and it also doubles my chip damage, and it makes it so I don't have to take a ton of risk. I forget who was talking about it. I think it was Andrew Holder and I were actually discussing this earlier, where older UFS players are just trying to take no risk. They're trying to take the line that has the least risk possible, and it's for a good reason, really. It's the kind of thing where if you can win without taking risk, you kind of should, right? Like, generally there should, of course, be risk to everything, and that's where I struggle. Is if I hate feeling like I'm giving my opponent another opportunity to kill me, especially with like how great offense is. And I think that is the real strength of the Momo deck, is once you feel confident that you can start sculpting over multiple turns, once you feel confident that like you're actually not giving your opponent an opportunity to end the game no matter what hand they draw, or if it has to just be like the absolute literal perfect hand for the situation, that's where Momo really shines. And so I thought if I had the selective card draw and I had the better opening hand, again, I struggled to play 6-handers a lot, so the filter was really big for me. And then, of course, the Deadlock Enhance has become kind of almost notorious, right? Like, I got it from Bromley, who told me he picked it up from Nate, who thought it was funny coming out of the sideboard. And now the Momos have started to mainboard a certain number of it because the game might go 1-0 into time. And so you want to have that threat before sideboarding. And I decided to just run 4 of it because it synergizes with my character to poke really well. Now, this card is not very good at killing people. This card is really good at generating card advantage and allowing you to do funny stuff with Excited for Blood, where like I can be at full health, activate Excited for Blood, and still be at full health by the end of it without flipping my Excited for Blood. And that's a really cool interaction that the design team put in there. And you look at the enhance on Knife Slice and you think, okay, well, Toga gets to gain 1 and they lose an additional 1, basically, and it seems so small. But like once you put into the fact that like I don't have to flip my Excited for Blood to be at 20 health and then find a way to unflip it, I get to have it for that next turn. If I'm confident I'll survive to that next turn, like That's actually a huge advantage. 99% of uses of Excited for Blood, you know, even Toga decks that aren't like mainboarding Knife Slice, is to just pay 2 life, draw a card, flip it, gain 2 life. And with these longer metas, and because of the fact that I also get to just play Passing the Torch, and you have to like put such long strings together, and you have to be able to build so consistently, and blah blah blah, I really found a ton of value in that. And because of that, I felt like my matchups against these wall decks and against Kirishimas really wasn't too bad. So a lot of that comes from this next card, though, which is Naval Laser Beam. Naval Laser Beam is a 4-of because it's Breaker 2, and we need to survive that hump. I don't have quick creations in my deck to deter people from playing a second attack against me, and my Kirishima 2 matchup suffers a lot if I don't get to block the mids, to me, the most important thing in the Kirishima 2 matchup is you never take damage from the mids, because you're not supposed to completely block Hardened Frenzy, and you're not supposed to block Chop at all, really. But I keep getting baited into blocking Hardened Chops, and that's why I fucking lose, even with 4 Passing the Torch in my deck. So, blocking mid, super important, and just having that turn 2 defense, mega important. And I get to be so greedy with all these 5 discs and with all these really specific pieces because of the synergy with Excited for Blood that I have, and because I don't have to check 2 5s to get all of my filter and all of my character value if I'm playing Knife Slice or a Throw, which is the next attack on the list. So if I'm starting to flip foundations for stats while playing this attack, I'm probably in a bad position, or you're in a really bad position, because it's a pretty heavy committal in this deck to start flipping everything. Not so much in like the Alleyway Ambush version, but this deck is sort of trying to do its best Momo impression while running none of the same attacks, or like running just none of the weapon cards, of course, besides Knife Slice. And I think some Momos are like throwing in a Tongue Whip or 2, but aside from just like super value, right? Like, we're not playing the weapon looping game. So the win condition of this deck, if you wanted to try and describe one, like the moment where I felt like I could actually get so far ahead I win this game, and notably all the matches I lost were matches where I couldn't do this play, was to have 2 Excited for Blood down, play an attack, almost definitely a Knife Slice, almost certainly a 5 difficulty, and during that attack use 0 gravity lifts in hands. So now the attack goes to momentum when it resolves, right? I've banked a 0 gravity lift, I'm playing my 5 diff, I'm playing my can opener, whatever it is, and I add it to momentum. And then because I'm Toga, I get to draw 2 cards from Excited for Blood, I get to draw and discard at least 1 card, and then I get to flip them and go back to full life almost all the time. I confused the shit out of some people because I was at full life after doing all this once and still flipped the Excited for Blood. But it's very important that you flip it, because your next attack has to be Naval Laser Beam, and your first enhance is to discard that momentum and unflip your Excited for Blood. And this is something I was expecting to get a judge call on, and I did, and we had to confirm it. That, no one thought I was being scandalous. We were just like, hey, let's double check. And because I unflipped my Excited for Blood, I can use them again. So I can now draw essentially 4 cards off of Excited for Bloods. I will flip 1 of them to go back to 20 life and still have 1 face up. And I will be a 10, 11, probably 12 hand size character by this point. And almost certainly, no matter the board state, I can't kill you at this point. But I get to build such a huge, massive advantage and hold like double Naval Laser Beam and double Tongue Whip, and just be so set up for my next turn that my opponents cannot navigate the board state. So that is a play that I did not get to do against All Might 3, because All Might 3 plays Capture Evildoers, and giving him 2 momentum was how I lost in testing to Wesley Bittner. Getting the Capture Evildoer's super long extension turns from a character that draws 2 cards and punishes me for holding those 5 attacks to set up, that was always kind of something that was super difficult. So I couldn't get like super duper ahead of JJ or Wesley during those. And so playing around Capture Evildoers was really tough. Pretty funny that they debuted Cool and Tough earlier today, and it has not the life symbol, which I'm glad about. I don't think life needs that. Life shouldn't be able to play around that of all things, right? Like, it has some of the best uses for momentum, in my opinion. And like best like momentum game even. Like Zero Gravity Lift isn't really like a use for momentum, but it is a sick momentum use, if that makes sense. So, if I had to pick a quote-unquote win condition for this deck, it is either play every Tongue Whip in the deck in succession after your opponent tries to kill you, or it is unflip 2 Excited for Blood after drawing 2 cards to draw 2 more cards and still end up at maximum life value. And other than that, there was a lot of times, guys, where going into my opponent's turn, my hand was 2 Faith Shield and 3 Naval Laser Beam, and I felt unkillable. If I had an encouraging training partner down, I probably felt like Momo would have to take a turn off. And not that I'd kill her on the backswing or anything, but, buying me that extra turn is just mega important, right? So Naval Laser Beam dunks on mid-punch lineups. Absolutely necessary for the deck. Why I ran it as a 4 of. And really, this is the play that made me want to play the deck. This is the play where, like, if I did this at my locals in a goofy locals list, like, I'd have a blast because my opponent would be like, whoa, seriously, really? But I'm not eliminating them from the game. I'm not literally winning the game, but that is my win condition, is to be so set up so far ahead of you that you can't punish me. You can't punish me for not killing you this turn, basically. But that's how you get really far ahead in Toga. You stick them with a throw, it's your most likely way to get momentum, and then you can sequence with pretty much 0 risk, or at least as low of risk as you possibly can, right? Still might check a 3 on all these 5 diffs, but that's really what the deck needs. It needs like some kind of home run comet, or like, just something low to go with Tongue Whip maybe, because we have a lot of low overload. These mids are kind of like there for other reasons than to deal damage, which is fine. You shouldn't be taking just raw 5 and 6 anyway. We got throws for pokes, but the Tongue Whip is pretty much the only thing that's going to kick you out of the game. Gravity Lift is pretty much just there for what I was talking about. It's still 2 triggers off Knife Slice. If I could reverse my decision, go back in time, I think I would take Back Alleys out, just do 4 Gravity Lift, 4 Knife Slice, just for simplicity, and just to continuously like chew away at Momo. Like, yeah, they have Rising Starlit to like keep giving them life back, but I think you win that race, and if that race takes an hour, like, that's fine. If it's in top cuts, we'll see how it goes. But I definitely think that the double filter trigger to just +1 life, like, I was at 12 life a lot after people's turns. I really wanted to stay above 12. That was like my danger zone. That's where like tape swings start killing me. That's where like a plus ultra attack, just like a blank plus ultra kind of a thing, or like reciprocal acceleration kick plus ultra, and then you dump all the kicks for speed. It's like 12 low 12, right? Like, so that was like my danger zone where I didn't want to be. And so Gravity Lift allows me to pay 1 life to guarantee all my Toga triggers, and then if they block it and take half, which a ton of people did, by the way. Really weird flex. Like, actually just, like, I would put 1 damage on it to make it 7, and then also Toga enhance. So, like, you're blocking a 7 damage throw and taking 5 damage. And you're just letting me gain 1 life and filter an additional card. I don't know. It's still probably the right play because I'm not killing you this turn, and you are saving 2 health. And maybe if I just play another 4 diff, I get to do that filter anyway. But it was very strange to me that people would block with not a Faith Shield and just still take 5. Again, I couldn't capitalize on it, but they didn't know that. A lot of people were afraid when they would see me discard attacks for the Toga response, thinking that like I'm just flooded with gas. But really, I just can't pass all these five diffs in my deck. Net Gun Surprise, it's a staple defensive trick. It'll save you once per turn from Recipro Burst. Super great early, amazing early, and when you have to, just squeezing in that stun 2, it's pretty good. I love effects like this. I really wish I could justify playing more of it, and maybe, just maybe, I become a Mei Hatsumi player because she can sure as fuck slap 4 damage on this bitch. She can just fucking flip one and say, look, man, you gotta respect this now. So, really love this card a lot, especially with quick creation. Oh, man, I'm gonna end up playing Momo. I hate myself. Tongue Whip. Tongue Whip is the 4 diff killer of choice on the symbol. One of the few things that can like wedge some difficulty into Momo's blocking scheme. Notably weak against Forcing Surrender, but Forcing Surrender decks often have like a use that they want on their turn, especially when I'm playing Face Shield. So I will absolutely throw this out. You will flip that Forcing Surrender, and my only goal with this attack was to draw and discard a card. You know, my only goal was to get 1 card out of your hand and trigger my Excited for Blood. Like, actually. So, I wasn't stingy with Tongue Whips. I think maybe I should have been more often. Like, I think against Zero on stream, I definitely, like, reviewed 1 or 2 or something like that. And, you know, maybe had 1 more turn. But I also definitely died with 2 Tongue Whips in hand at one point where I just had, like, 2 highs, 2 mids, 2 lows, and, like, he gets to look at the hand and know where to go. So I was not prepared for that matchup. But as far as Tongue Whip goes, I probably could have been a little stingier and actually killed people a turn or 2 early. But I was trying really hard not to. I was trying hard not to be greedy with attacks because I was already being so greedy with the attacks that I am running. I figured just making sure I don't get jammed to where I have to play 2 or 3 attacks into a turn just to do something with my hand was not the goal. And then Instant Shining Flash, it's just a solid low block. It's our worst block zone, right? Like 17, it's 7 lower than the second highest. So that's a big deal. This does have difficulty reduction to help us kind of get our strings going because by the time I'm playing I'm probably playing this on a 6 after playing a 5 diff on a 6, and then I'm almost certainly going to have to play like Tongue Whips on 7s, 8s, blah, 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 right? So getting this flipped in there to reduce the difficulty by 1 is pretty cool. And then it is my Momentum Hate, which, you know, it's a pretty cool little trick for that after you play the card. Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite tech pieces throughout the weekend, was having the Instant Shining Flash. And then going to the foundations, we've got 4 Excited for Blood. This is a staple. This is just like your other character ability, right? Like we talk about like Ida 1 has fulfilled my duty. This is your hidden text, is that Excited for Blood is always active in you. And that is super important. And I think for characters on these symbols, that's going to be mega important going forward too. I actually really wanted to play Toga with Turn to Dust because of shit like this, but the life symbol is just so appealing and it lets me be so dirtily, and I get Faith Shield, like I get new training method, you know. Anyway, we'll get to all those foundations, but yeah, as mentioned before, the win condition of this deck is to actually plus off of Excited for Blood, and then basically get to do it again in the same turn by unflipping them. We love to dirtle. We do. We absolutely love to dirtle. I need to do emotes for my channel. I might have a dirtle emote that's just like Toga. I have like a Toga emote that's just, I don't know. I don't even know what she does in the show. She just drinks blood, right? But yeah, definitely a super dirtily deck in general, if only because, my attack lineup is set up to like kill you super duper dead once I've softened you up. Once it's been 5 or 6 Toga triggers of you burning down and just like feeling the inevitability. Like, none of these attacks are particularly enjoyable to block when they burn you for one. Like, Naval Laser Beam is like the most appealing one, right? Blocking a 4-speed gravity lift with face shield is annoying turn 2. So I think I did turn 2 exactly one person on the weekend. I forget who it was, but I played a ton of 6-handers. I don't think I played a single 7-hander in Swizz. So it was pretty rough. Like, I was ready to eat 7-handers alive. I was ready to like backswing Tokoyamis, right? And it just never came up. Also, like, excited for Blood into the Tokoyami matchup, so that little dipshit can't evil gaze me turn 2. Oh, I love that. I definitely survived a turn or two because people would activate excited for Blood at me, and I'm like, I'll gain 4. I'm not even going to draw a card. I'm just going to gain 4 and protect my life total. Rescue completed the other greedy 3-diff. I love that these block different zones, by the way. I absolutely love that these, this is a +2 high, this is a +2 high, +2 low. Love that for me. Helped me out a lot when just deciding like one of them I have to keep. Had to keep excited for Blood as a high block a lot more than I really wanted to, if truth be told, but that did save me, that was the right call when it came up. And if I live to another turn, I didn't have to use it. I can just build it, right? Like, this deck never has a turn that it really has to go in on, but it is not really equipped to wall break, especially if you're going to avoid deadlock. So Rescue completed is just super duper solid. It's all about card economy. It's all your foundations count for 2 on defense, and then it counts for 2 on offense by readying them, and sometimes it counts for 3 on defense. So definitely integral to the strategy. I felt fairly defensible. Like, I felt like I could defend as good as Momo in general against most strategies. Momo just can defend against every strategy. I can just block forever, right? Like, I felt great into my Earth matchups. You would actually have to hand tax me to OTK me, right? Unless there is things prevent, like, that just say I don't get to block. Childhood friends. This was like a cute little combo. I don't know how good it actually was. I ended up tossing Childhood Friends because it was my worst low block mod and the highest difficulty foundation, right? Like, the card quality is just absolutely insane. But when this was down throughout the weekend in teams and things like that, I actually had people scoop to Childhood Friends with Knife Slice. Like, I would, I got to unflip it a couple times and put like Naval Laser Beam back in my hand, and like the specific tempo play, like telegraphing to my opponent, right? Like, this is going to hit you next turn too. Like, it's not like a full loop. It's not like mega long term, but just enough of that, like, really put people behind it, won the mental game on a lot of stuff. So being able to do the whole super excited for Blood play where you draw additional cards, flip it, then unflip it, and Childhood Friends, add it back to your hand, and next turn I can unflip Childhood Friends and then excited for Blood, and like, it's got a lot of upside, but I didn't get it down very often. And I did play this at my locals with actual powerful attacks in my deck. It was pretty sick. So maybe if we find some home run comet lineup that we like for Toga, this could stay at a 3 of. But realistically, it's probably going down to a 1 of. I thought this would be a bigger part of my game plan, and it just wasn't. And then I did have 8, evil, so 9, 13. Yeah, I had almost all my attacks I could pick up, right? Like, the only ones that aren't targets are Back Alley, Haymaker, and Gravity Lift. So it just, it wasn't the priority. The priority was staying alive. And the best card for staying alive, Faith Shield. It's so hard to get away from these symbols, man. It's so hard to get away from these symbols, especially if you're not trying to just like fween people on turn 2 or erase their character. Like, it's... And when I say fween, not necessarily OTK turn 2, but like put them so far behind. A lot of strategies, like playing Denki on order was so rough because of Faith Shield. I think the card needs to exist, don't get me wrong. I love this card. It's what made me want to play the set 2 meta. And I was kind of surprised that I didn't play exclusively these symbols in set 2. I ended up playing Denki because the card movement is just super cool. But this was me finally deciding to like try and play control. Like, this was me trying to finally play like a wall deck, because I played All Might 3, I played Ochako, I played Tokoyami, and like these are all characters who are adequate defensively, but they didn't have defense first as a priority, which is super funny because at one point during the event, Miles Tyler picked up my character and read it and went, "Yeah, you don't do nothing on defense on face," and I'm like, that's very true. But because I am the life symbol, every single card in my deck is built to keep me alive, except floating around my babies. And even Tight-Lipped is kind of in there because it's a +1 mid-block, like, not a joke. I almost never built a Tight-Lipped over a floating and was like, I need this kind of damage, right? Because I don't have Frog Lashing anymore. I did use Tight-Lipped once or twice specifically to have targets for rescue completed, so that was kind of cool. That's a play to keep in mind. Like, sometimes you're like, oh man, I'm 1 foundation short. If you just flip one with Tight-Lipped, right, that's committed, and you have now 2 face downs for rescue, like, you get to +1 your foundation count. But other than that, Face Shield just so super good, super important. I probably held it more often than I had to. I probably hoarded it more than I should have. I don't know if I actually ruined too many combos. I know someone was playing some double jab pummels at me. And I did have to play against some 0 gravity lifts and tape tosses. And yeah, definitely a necessary card. I'd really like to just put 4 of, and I think I should, because I don't think I ever cited any out. I definitely cited up to 4 for decks where I was like, okay, they have a throw, or they have, things that I need to take no damage from, like Electric Jolt. Hardened Frenzy, I dig face shielding a Hardened Frenzy, Merciless Rush too, right? So I think actually in the future we just start putting 4 of in the main board. It seems like the kind of card you like do the 3-4 toggle on, but I ended up doing a 2-2 toggle on Wall Cling after doing a 3-1 on it for basically those same reasons. Like, Face Shield just hits so many more things than Wall Cling actually does. Just like, for example, the Ochako 1 matchup. Like, Wall Cling is tight because you don't take any damage, but it doesn't shut down her response. So I think we just start saying, fuck it, the meta calls for 4 of these. It's a deck where I throw cards away every time I attack. Like, I have to choose something to discard. No reason it can't be Face Shield if that's the right choice. New Training Method, another card that lets me be mega greedy. Another card that lets me pick up Faith Shield. That's pretty much its main target. Is like, this I can just sit on and wait until I check a Faith Shield if it's something I need in the matchup. And telegraphing to people that you have a Faith Shield makes them play very loose. That makes them kind of just give up and say, okay, I need to take a turn off, waste a card, 1 for 1, etc., etc. And it wins you a mental game in a lot of ways. A lot of times people aren't prepared to actually play around a full turn with Face Shield. They're just saying, all right, you're going to have to Face Shield this, and then I'm going to take a turn off. New Training Method with Face Shield. Absolutely annoying as fuck. Absolutely can't believe these share 2 symbols. Like, it's just too easy. The amount of times I've ripped a Face Shield off the top of my deck when I needed one is kind of insane too. I think in testing I actually wall cleaned something and then passing the torch then drew a Face Shield, and like, just like, all right, I guess I'm still doing the Face Shield for giggles. But yeah, this card lets you just be greedy. It just lets you be greedy. It lets you be selective. Picking up the right block zone on the telegraphed attacks is also really, really important. Making sure I hit excited for bloods, really important, right? Like on my turn, I check an excited for blood. I'm probably picking it up. This grabbed me rescue completed when I needed it a lot on turn 2 as well. So almost all my cards are targets for this, but if it's your turn, I'm waiting for face shield. This, in combination with Ready, Get, Set, Go, also let me build 6 on my opponent's turn at one point, which was pretty sick. So you got to watch out for the super duper mega high rolls. Where is it? Someone with Style, right? Someone with Style is super duper important as well, because a lot of the decks trying to beat these Momo decks are trying to stun everything out every turn. Stun is everywhere in the format, and this creates interesting sequencing, and it is your essential replacement for Amphibious, right? Like, it is your extra resource. I usually needed 2 of these down to actually kill people, to actually string together all my stuff, because I was pretty good about avoiding deadlock. Even if I didn't, like, the one time I didn't, I got Grasping Tape tossed right out of a game. So, just I told myself I can stay out of deadlock because I'm really good at it. I just have all these destruction triggers. And, of course, the 1 or 2 times I would decide, all right, I'm not afraid of my opponent's deadlock, I would immediately get destroyed by their deadlock. So this card helps you stay out of deadlock, which is important. It helps you go super deep. And a lot of times people stun into it, and you know that they want you to respond with it, and you know you don't have to because you just destroy the other foundation if it's stunned too, and you ready it again, and then their plans are ruined. So this can give you a lot of information if you're paying attention to what your opponent's doing and if you believe that they're stunning for a reason. Very interesting card. Really, really good against stun, just like in ways better than you think. Wall Cling is a 2 of because it's a 4 check. I could maybe see putting these all to the side, if only because Faith Shield is such a great turn stopper, but also if people start playing more Tape Swing, Wall Cling becomes way more important because of the leaving it mid. You can just leave Tape Swing mid, right? So luckily Sero gets to check. Sero gets to know if the coast is clear on Faith Shield most of the time. So Wall Cling maybe could be replaced for something a little more value oriented, maybe the 4th Face Shield and the 4th Encouraging, just because we're getting to a point of stats are gonna hit critical mass because you cannot string Momo out with just 5 blink attacks. They all have to be bangers. The stuff I got beat by against All Might 3 was just 10 speed mid Haymaker for 10 damage. It's a Haymaker that gets 3 damage from first impressions. It gets 5 speed from All Might. It gets +1/+1 from Small and Limber 2 times. So it's like 11 mid for 10. And if I want to go through all my resources and still block this, I'm wide open for everything else. And he can start playing, Maybe we just get the 4th Encouraging because we are looking at big Haymaker format. That's what we're seeing. Like, we went from Crow and Frog, and they said, look, we're tired of y'all just spitting in the face of the card pool. We want you to play 3 big-ass dunks. Here's Cannon Blast. Go nuts. That's, we went nuts with Cannon Blast. So we have to have the counters for all these giant Cannon Blasts. I got people talking about playing Detroit Smash to beat Momo coming up, guys. I don't know. It's going to be a wild format. It's going to be a crazy format coming up. So, Wall Cling, kind of iffy. Encouraging Training Partner, absolutely amazing. Next up, we have Passing the Torch. 4 of Passing the Torch. If you were in the Discord earlier, you'd see people talking about maybe this card should be banned. I don't think it should be banned so much as everybody should have card draw. Like, if you're going to print E-Commit draw card and then it has only upside after that, you got to make card draw for everyone really good at that point. So I don't know how you, quote unquote, lower the power level of stuff, but all the talk about like set one format and how this stuff was designed for standard and et cetera, like I don't know what you do, but I think this is going to stay a 4 of in any deck that is on its symbols. Maybe a 3 of. I actually play this at 3 of a lot in a 50 card deck. But any deck that's trying to play on turns 4 and 5. Any deck that's trying to get over the hump, as we say, past turn 2, past turn 3. Those are the decks that are going to always play a bunch of this card, and it's always going to be good. A huge part of leveling up my game was not being greedy and waiting till I'm at 0 cards to draw 2 cards because I'm a fucking goblin. And just being willing to draw cards on my own turn. I used to never do that, and I used to beat people who would do it all the time by like the slimmest of margins because they committed one, and I was convinced that passing the torch, unless you're like mega super dumbass far ahead, like passing the torch was always meant to be used to draw 2 random cards at 0, and obviously the format has changed. We're not playing standard anymore, so that was a big part of leveling up my game, was getting less stingy and more greedy with passing the torch. So high value target protects me against most deadlock threats. People playing that Berserker Blow, main board, Evil Gaze, stuff like that, right? And then, of course, it counts as 2 foundations when we block. And we are a boring dirtle deck that needed low blocks, so here we are. I could probably trim one of these and go for another Self-Sacrifice, though, because Self-Sacrifice is a sick way to stay out of deadlock. Lets you do some really cool plays with Back Alley Haymaker, which, of course, I don't know if I'd keep going forward, but was in the deck for this version. Also just like stops people from trying to like kill you from 20 a lot, because they look at your self-sacrifice and they'll say out loud, yeah, you could -1 on both of these, and you're just like, well, I probably wasn't going to, but now I will. So this card being out early, pretty good for just staying in the game. Really good for staying out of deadlock. It's better than just releasing your own attack, right? I also really liked it for all my +1s. I really liked with 0 gravity lift to get like that math to be like, oh, you're taking 5 from a blocked gravity lift instead of 7. You know, taking 5 instead of 3 from like a blank one. Super good, right? So definitely all the good +1s on life. You don't really have to say much about them. I don't have any cool tricks with the weapon keywords, so that's pretty much where we're at. Let me know if the fan gets annoying. I gotta turn the fan on for a second. It's hot in here. And then we got release. There's not much you can really say about release. It's so good. It's actually just so good. Like all my chaff foundations, all the ones you stunned out, all the cards I can't use right now, I can throw away to save for later. I can throw away to live for tomorrow. This card just buys you that extra turn all the time. Yeah, you have to rebuild afterwards, but if I have Excited for Bloods left, if I have my card draw, like my back alleys, so what? You know, I will gladly toast 6 foundations in a turn, go down to 10, and have only like release, Excited for Blood, rescue completed, and someone with style. Like if my stage is that, I can build back from pretty much anything, and I'm totally fine with that. Not only that, but like even if I'm half blocking through the whole thing, I can gain all that life back. I went from like 8 life to like 18, 20 routinely throughout the event. And I was trying to block pretty much everything because that's just how I like to play the game. So release is a 4 of. You know, Momos obviously I think Momos are playing 2 to 4. I don't know. I play 4 in a Momo probably, but that's with people playing extra blood curdles and shit. Like this just lets you do your best Momo impression on defense. Obviously you don't get to clear the card pool, stay resource neutral, yada yada. And because of that, I would probably turn some of these spams into a precious lesson. Bromley had it in his list, which probably helped him a ton, even if he was just releasing on his own attacks. Actually, that was an aggro deck. I don't know if he had release mainboarded, but yeah, just this with like a precious lesson, definitely something I should have had going, if only because it would have allowed me again to backswing a little more often, which was not really on my mind. I was just there to have fun and block attacks and make people miserable and see if I could burn anyone all the way down, which I did successfully. My goals for the event were to kill someone with a knife slice burn while they were at 2, and that was pretty much it, and I did that twice, so goal accomplished. My only other goal is to get top 4 to get a switch, but that's never going to happen apparently. For the sideboard, we had just another gravity lift, which I was like, okay, if you have no throw hate, I'll just fuck with you. Aiming for number 1, I put in to kind of fight future charge decks or punish people who would go down to 1 card in hand a lot, and just try to like draw 1 off of something. Like 5-handers who play struggling with studies, stuff like that, where they're just like, I'm going to hold 1, block with it, add it back to my hand on your 3rd. Like, no, you don't get to do that anymore. I don't think I ever actually cited it in, except maybe I cited it against 4th kind. I used it once. I used it exactly once, and it was to draw 2 cards after I had drawn 2 cards. Oh, I think I did it to someone using Excited for Blood, actually. I think they used Excited for Blood, then I responded Excited for Blood, and then responded aiming for number 1. Something like that. It came up one time. Planning ahead, I used it. I don't know if it ever worked. I used it against Miles playing Ida, where I was like, I just don't want to block extends. I think I kept calling mid. I think I called mid almost all the time, and then he would play a setup strike. So probably should find a better spot for this. Like, this card is really cool if the opponent's actually mono zone. I think I called low a couple times too, just because I didn't want to block a hard chop in some matchups. Like, for me, my idea was I could call low and I'll never have to block a chop, because I like to play chop on a 6. I'm like the only person, I guess. Like, I thought with Back Alley Haymaker coming out, people would start with Haymaker, play chop on a 6, and then it's like gravy, like you get to blow 1 up, like just check 5s, right? But all the chops that have been played against me for the last month have been the first attack, so this would never come up for that. Is kind of good against Frenzy, I guess, but the Frenzies are coming in for like 9 damage right now. It's fucking insane. Homage to my hero, just cranking the damage out. So this probably should have been, I don't know, another gravity lift or something. Well, those would all be mained, but yeah, definitely could have found something better. The 4th Face Shield came in a lot. A lot of decks are doing stuff that you want to Faith Shield, Combo decks that are looking for keywords in their card pool. Decks that just don't want to have face downs clogging them, right? Decks that want to deal damage. Just all kinds of good upside. Should just be 4 of in the main at this point. 2+ Ultra. Now, notably, I am not a set 1 character, so I could never use the enhance on this. But this was my anti-Ochako 2. This was my anti-Detroit Smash card. This was my don't get chumped by people card. Good against Recipro Burst 2. I think I actually used it against a Recipro Burst. I did have someone double plus ultra block me too, which was kind of tilting, but all is fair in love and war. But yeah, this is something I put on there just so I didn't get absolutely zonked by a giant mid attack, because I have only 20 health. 2 Wall Cling, again, in case you play the tape swing decks, more throw hate, yada yada, and encouraging. Like, my main sideboard was these 6 cards, the top 6. These last 4 just kind of thrown in there. I didn't really know what to do with these last 4 slots. I probably could have cited some spams, actually. I could have cited, like, Self-Sacrifice. And most of the time my side is all big, giant, clunky cards. But really I should prioritize some spams, too. Like, just citing Self-Sacrifice against certain matchups. Like, 1.3 million matchups. Like, really big, right? Like, you're going to stun me out, and as you're doing it, I'm lowering your overall damage output, because I won't be able to block later. So, really, definitely didn't need most of these cards on my side. Or, not most, but, these last four. These ones were all good. These all mattered and came in a lot, and I should just mainboard them. But, yeah, that's pretty much the deck list. If you guys have any questions, feel free to fire them off in the chat or in the comments below. I did get, like I said, 12th place, so kind of sad that it wasn't a top 16. I don't think I would play a version quite like this. Like, the overall defensive Toga, I still like. I know Bromley topped with the really aggressive offensive version, and it is really potent, but the ability to not mess with my opponent's board kind of bothers me. I need a little more stun. Like, I like Danky. I like block punishment on my offense, throws and stuff like that. So I think for this slow version, I would go to a more throw focus sort of a thing, like to actually kind of grind and get a little more life total loss as we go, and then try to find some better 4-diffs for a little more stringing action, Just maybe just max out on some instant Shining Flash, get better low blocks, and it doesn't matter a whole lot what your attacks are doing if you have like the zeros, right, that give all +1 damage. If you have all your +1 activators, you just play a bunch of Shining Flashes and Tongue Whips and kill a bunch of people who have tapped out to try and kill you. But anyway, that's what I played in Pasadena. I went 5-2, and I had a lot of fun. I wasn't exactly going in there trying to like shake up the format or like change the meta or anything, but this was the first deck in a long time that I just genuinely like had fun doing all the little triggers, and I like to gain life, and that was like the best life gaining deck until Recovery Girl comes out, and so that was really my goal, and the goal was accomplished. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the video, and I'll see you all. Peace. Hey, that's a YouTube video in the can. I'll probably have to edit the shit out of it, but whatever. But yeah, that's the Toga deck. It wasn't really built to beat anything specific. Like, I'm over trying to like beat the meta decks because every time I feel really situated against like a meta deck, I never fight it. My matchups throughout the weekend were Ochako 1, Ochako 2, Mei Hatsumi. No, that was in teams. Man, what? Sarah 1, which came totally out left field and just slapped people around. All Might 3 I already mentioned. What else did I play? Did I play a Nomu? No, I don't think I played. I played some other 5-hander. I definitely played another. I played a 4th kind. Like, I don't know. Yeah, my matchups were really weird. I was like prepared to fight Kirishimas, but they didn't show up for me. So my bracket was just kind of weird overall. I think that if I was gonna play Toga again, I think I would just actually go Throga. It's kind of sad, but like, you don't get to just pop off and kill people, but I'm not really trying to do that. I don't like to extend into people if I can't fuck with their board. I want to like clear the way. I either want to clear your hand or I want to clear your board. And so, might try to play that mill deck. Might try to spruce up that Kurogiri mill deck. Playing a 50-card mill deck is actually insane to me. There's something there's something else going on. There's like some bubble that deck was created in, because with no I guess if you have the mill combo, but Yeah, that's pretty much what I would run. I think I'd run 1 overhead, 3 creeping vine, 4 lift, right? So like that's still like 8 throws, and then you go 4 tongue whip, that's 12, 4 knife slice, that's 16. And then I could probably just go 2 naval laser beam, or like 3 knife slice, 3 naval laser beam, and then shining flash net gun. And like, instead of trying to stun people out and like goose them on a string of stuff, like, nah, no back alleys. It's too chunky. Like, I think you run back alley or knife slice. Like, back alley guarantees you're floating, which you need to like kind of zonk people early on, but it just ran me into breaker blocks, dude. Like, you know, one of the big things about having knife slice and tongue whip as like a linchpin to the offense is not being mid attacks. Like, when I play naval laser beams, I never expect to deal damage. I'm just trying to draw more cards. So back alley's kind of the same thing. Like, the stun wasn't even active against half the people I was playing against. You know, a bunch of the decks just straight up had it can't be fixed and stuff like that. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe back alley's still too much value because drawing extra cards is really good. I also think with the throw version, you prioritize self-sack and tight-lipped a little bit more because you probably are going to be just a bit grindier. Like, a lot of my wins were 1-0 wins where I just triple tongue whip somebody on turn 4 after they commit everything to get me down to 6 or something. So, and like, back alley does help you build after releasing away your foundation. Like, that's the biggest part, is like, to survive a lot of these attacks, I had to release away my stage. That's why I don't get to backswing, right? Like, that's why I have to have back alley to grow my board back out after releasing everything. Which is why we just run Precious Lesson. Precious Lesson fixes so much of that issue. Frog Lashing used to. Frog Lashing used to be the solution for that. But I could definitely see a version where you run 4 back alley and no knife slice main board. Because knife slice isn't that super impressive if you're down to play 2 attacks, but it was really important to me that I only play 1 attack and I can effectively gain 2 life. Sadly enough, because I like gaining life so much, if I was going to play back alley, I'd start playing like at least 1 copy of Recovery Girl's Kiss, because Jacob Johnson was actually looping Recovery Girl's Kiss at me, and it was so frustrating because I wanted to actually just burn someone 25 times in a game, you know, and kill him with the knife slice trigger or whatever, but he was actually just gaining back everything I burned for like 3 turns. It was actually pretty funny. I didn't expect to see Recovery Girl's Kiss on a Top Cuts deck, but fucking here we are, the year of our Lord 2022. Oh man. Hosing my cheese strategy. The real reason not to play Toga in competition is because you have to keep tracking the health. You have to keep dooting the health back and forth. That's actually the reason not to do it. This stuff gets so annoying just going back and forth over and over. A lot of times I would just like accidentally hit the wrong side of the button too, and it looks super embarrassing, like I'm cheating. And I have to just fix it. Let me see if I can change the text, because I got my Let me switch over to Twitch. That's a deck profile. Let's switch over to Twitch and watch a game. Does it pop up here? I don't know if you guys can read that. There we go. It's a little... need like a background for it. Let's do that. Anyhow. Oh, I'm on the wrong Twitch page. Whoops. I'm gonna get fired from Twitch, y'all. My ass is gonna get fired from Twitch. Where's this Top Cuts? Let's watch some Top Cuts match. Now, I'm not gonna subject y'all to I'm not gonna subject y'all to the Eraserhead Momo matchup. Daniel Nelson's already watched that one.
And really not great into some other things, right? Yeah. And the biggest thing about that character is the level of skill it requires to pilot at the highest level, and I think that's the real struggle. You know,
I do want to listen to the commentary takes on it, though.
Like you're saying, rookie of the year.
So I'll watch that later. But this one,
it just really puts in the time.
This is definitely one of the more interesting matches from tops to me, though.
Instant shining flash. The one thing about this Momo
Daniel talked about he was dedicated to not going in first.
Instant Shining Flash is a weapon that we can just go find over and over and over and over and just say, response, discard a momentum. Response, discard a momentum.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they're talking about how Instant Shining Flash can just, like, nuke your little flash kick momentum, which is kind of cool. It's pretty funny. Life total's not changed much. Alright, let's find where's the second game? Ooh. So this would be, oh yeah, this should be a good match to watch. Momo versus Mineta 2. Let's watch this one. There we go. Let's back this up. A little aggressive clash for y'all. I mean, I've already missed action. Wait, let's go back. Where are we at? Where's the start? Here we go. Okay. Trying to get everything set up on the screen because I feel bad the chat's like covering up some of the stuff here. But yeah, I heard a story that the Mineta sat down and was like, so this matchup is abysmal, huh? And it's like, you know, almost there's some people talking about citing Momo just for Mineta 2 because he's such a terror. Now look at the format. You know, I was like, dude, y'all can just capture net. Like, you can just create capture net to, like, dunk on Mineta 2. It's not that hard. So, man. Yep, we're going to draw a card off of capture net. So Mineta's gonna just make him pop a weapon in, and then what are we gonna do? We're just gonna fucking pop. So important here, real quick. Travis could have, and I'm not nitpicking, right? Like obviously, dude did well, got second place, but you know, this is learning, right? We're doing the analysis. We have the benefit of not being the players here. When he's got the face down, right, he can commit it for +1 speed on rescue completed and then blow it up. So we got a little 1 speed we could have had, which probably doesn't matter when our opponent has 1 ready foundation. But still, little tiny things like that, right? We're going to build out, get a bunch of zeros, get a passing the torch and a momentum, got our asset out. Looking real good. All we're missing is study group leader, right? We're just missing study group leader from our stage here. Maybe a self-sack. Mineta 2 going to build a whole bunch of more, well, not a whole bunch, but a whole bunch of 2 diffs, like high difficulty stuff here. Not getting that momentum early is really going to suck. Going second also really sucked. Bow staff, we're just going to tutor it. And Hayden doing what you're supposed to do, by the way. He's just reading every card. If you look at all the times, he points and says, hey, can I read that? You know, like, if you're not familiar with stuff, all you got to do is read the card, and you can do well in this game. You don't have to, like, in Yu-Gi-Oh!, you have to, like, memorize every archetype because you don't have time to read the massive walls of text and, like, know all the erratas and all the official rulings and stuff because the wording is all weird. And, like, we've had multiple people come in and, like, kill tournaments, do absolutely great just because they, like, read every card after not playing for a while or are new, you know. Oh, and our first attack from Mineta is a sick little Grape Rush, the signature attack. We are going to get the D-build down, which will let us draw some cards. Yep, the D-build gets, of course... oh, no, sorry, yeah, we're not going to get to draw the card because the D-build just gets nerfed by a Momo. Which is exactly why this matchup is miserable. Like, yeah, they're down 1 foundation, but they're not down 1 foundation and clogging the pool. And we're going to get the quick create for the full block because it's not a throw. So we're going to play into the breaker with the reduced difficulty, so we still have to commit 1. And again, we're, you know, not trying to nitpick, but we could have first day of class, right? We could have used first day of class if we know, once we know we're not going to get the throw keyword on this, and that we're almost certainly going to have to attack again. Instead of committing that first day of class, you know, we could have checked a 3, which would have been a 2 there, right? And we could have had to commit more. So, and if we're really worried about it, you commit first day of class, flip to ready it, and you're just fine. So, another breaker block. Yikers. We're going to choose to destroy the weapon foundation. Oh, the speed resetter. Kind of an interesting choice because Mineta reduces speed straight to 0 and also resetting a Grape Rush to 4 means it can't be a throw. So he did look at what the face down was, saw it was observant student, right? And so specifically chose to keep the face down. I'm actually very curious about that play. I'm really big on encouraging in general, and this seems like a a sort of specific character, right? To like want to give your attacks their 4 speed back. My best guess is that having the +1 low as a copy hardened target was a consideration for him. That's my best guess. Got some capture net action going. We love capture nets, especially in this matchup. Notably, I think Broberg got away from capture net. Travis still mainboarding it here at game 1, though. So definitely a versatile card. I really wish the glare wasn't directly on the second card in his card pool every time. Yeah, Mineta just not having any of the card flow, not getting any of his 5-hand size abilities to matter. You know, super outbuilt. +1 to our check from league interview, but realistically, I don't see this attack dealing damage, which means we will not get any momentum, and we won't get excited for blood triggers. This is just a 5 low 4, which Momo can reduce the damage on or just block. Looks like we're going to choose to block, commit the foundation, reduce the speed. Once per turn for, what was that? Can we, looks like preparing? Yeah, for the low block. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to choose to never take damage. Yep, get the breaker 1 down. Check a fancy rising starlet. Commit our repetitive wall cling here. Check a 4 on a 6. Now, at this point, we're just getting desperate for, wait, what? What did he... I'm so confused. Why did he flip arrogant disposition? I think he meant to commit it for the check, but he just flipped it. Alright, qu'est-ce que c'est, you know? Now we're gonna get the once per turn in. I wouldn't be surprised to see discard and draw. Yep. Just trying to get full value. Discard, draw a card. Ooh. Now we're gonna blow that up. It's gonna be the top of our discard pile for a second. What is the flip here? What? Does he flip passing the torch? Oh, he flips walking. Okay. Man, I'm tripping. He just doesn't have the mid block, or he doesn't want to use the mid block. I got really thrown off by the arrogant disposition getting flipped. Oh, he had first day of class. He was flipping it for stats off naval laser beam. The whole thing I had talked about using first day of class to go through breaker, he just did that. I'm stupid. See, this is why I gotta be careful, guys. This game's got so many things happening all the time, and I love it. I'm also watching at a 2x speed so that it's not an hour-long venture, right? Got another back alley coming in. Yeah, as long as Travis has like a weapon foundation in his stage, which of course not, you know, like there's just not much Mineta can really do. Which, you know, for what's worth, kudos to the Jasco design team for making it thematic, you know. Mineta tries to harass Momo, but she remains successful in her efforts, right? Gonna build that down with the rising starlight, get some more pump going. Now that we're all committed out, and we got a card in our card pool. Get some EX movement. Make sure it hits. I'm gonna get doinked there. Yep, passes the check, and we're on to game 2. That's pretty much how you expect the matchup to go, right? That's the matchup on paper. Mineta clogs your pool, you just destroy a foundation and build it back. Simple as that. Oh man, I didn't know they had this camera angle. I can't watch my match on stream. I didn't know they had these camera angles. I was expecting it to just be pointed at the cards. Went too far here. Can I point out these two guys have sick mats, by the way? I love the Cowboy Bebop mat, and the Salky mat's pretty cool too. I gotta get some mulligans going. Alright, build 3 from Mineta. Let's see if Mineta can at least get Momo down to like 20, right? Going first, I'll say 15. Deal 11 damage, I'll be satisfied. We'll call it a win. It's not even half her life. Okay. Alright, Naval Laser Beam. We want it. We want that momentum. Ooh, Evil Gaze. We really want that momentum. Let's go. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Takes the 6. Alright. That is a long way towards doing 11. Oh man, he could just Evil Gaze another Naval Laser Beam and he's got it. Let's go. Man, someday there'll be a game where a person does not play back alley haymaker on turn 2. But this is not that day. I'm gonna get a 0 diff. Gonna get a tight lipped. Alright. I can dig it. We do have Rising Starlet in our stage, so if Mineta wants to once per turn, it's just gonna come back down, which I still think you use the once. Oh no, because you'll build one. Never mind. You'll just build a face down. It's neutral. You get to like effectively mill them one, I guess, is really what you get to do as Mineta. Ugh. So Momo is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 foundations. Technically 10 if you include the extra one that Precious Lesson builds, and even more than that effectively for blocking because of rescue completed. Not to mention the rescue completed can ready to face downs. So we're effectively at like 11 foundations that can pretty much all be committed for -2 speed. Alright, we see a big latent skill come down. Another evil. Oh my goodness, he's gonna do it. He's gonna drop Momo below 16. Even gets the reduce the speed on it, baby. He's still got a once per turn to like force him to blow one up permanently, I think. Not that it really affects Momo, but hey, there we go. We're in there. It's too easy. This is the lowest I've seen a Momo. You know, that wasn't like in a Momo mirror. Alright, well I guess Merciless Rush is one that we get to block. Or should block, I should say. Gonna have to blow one up, but it's alright. Ooh. Boom, boom. Check a 3, but we'll be okay. Blow up the face down. Oh, maybe it won't be okay? We got one momentum from earlier. Momo still has her once per turn, though, so... Yep, gonna jam that with Mineta. Interesting. I guess we spotted that there's finally no weapon cards in the card pool, right? So we get to jam that in there. We check a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the release. And it's just that easy. We got Momo down to 5 foundations. All right. 12 life, 5 foundations. We're in it. Everything in his stage is face down, though. And now it's all committed, so be pretty interesting to see. Yep, gonna lose 2, draw a card, gain 4. Love that play. Big part of the Toga deck. I wonder if not having the weapon in stage is really gonna hurt him, but having the capture net, right? Like the total bait at this point. Didn't even need the weapon foundation because we just had the combo crate capturing net. We're evening up that life total, but as long as Mineta draws the correct block zones, resetting the speed to 0 is going to be something that saves them defensively. Unfortunately, the one thing you really don't want to do against the Momo deck is take a turn off. Taking a turn off from offense means we don't get to pressure that board. She gets to stay at that massive 10 foundation limit, and on top of that, they get to review more selectively. We didn't force them to block with anything they want to keep, so or lose more resources to once per turn. So it's a third back alley haymaker as an opener yet again. This time we have a respectable board, and Hayden correctly committing shock absorption because it is playable while committed. So as far as your resource economy goes, it is pretty much the correct one to stun. We're going to put this 0 diff that's not a weapon back into our card pool again for Mineta, which makes me think that we have another crate capturing net, or we're just really getting jammed on weapon foundations in like a weird way. Yep, there's that precious lesson, remaining resource neutral. Making sure we got hella foundations to backswing. Scooping up that rising starlet. Making sure that I think he actually will build this to make sure that we have the weapon foundation in our stage, and not only that, we get to gain life back. Right, we're gonna go back up to 15. We were as low as 10 at one point. Ooh, and the uppercut clog. So we got the double clog, and it ruins the combo keyword. But after this, we can still play Rising Starlet on a 5. So definitely expecting to see a build out. It's a Momo deck. It's not exactly the craziest aggro overcoming checks deck. Alright, checking a 4 on what looks to be a 6. And we're going to respond and gain 1 life. Life total's looking surprisingly even after a pretty good start from Mineta with that Evil Gaze. If we have I was just about to say, if we have a third Evil Gaze, but then we milled one. Let's see if we can't get a peek at that hand. I see a Gale Force. Alright, which I don't think they wanted to play in the main board, but seems like a pretty good card in the Momo matchup. Hell yeah, I was about to mention we reduced the speed on Gale Force, but now we have Glamorous to put it back. I still think Momo's in like a fine position, don't get me wrong, to block this, but Gale Force does let you put some great pressure on the opponent's board, whether it's just through its native speed or through its ability to destroy the best part of your board. Check a 6 from release. Blocked on a 6 with breaker 1. That's kind of heartbreaking how easy that was. Now we checked a 2. We have to commit 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, with the first day of class. I keep missing the first day of class. Yeah, okay. Stun 2 comes down. We're going to blow this up to get the release. We kept both rescue completeds because they do a very similar thing to rescue, but doesn't make us blow up our stage to do it. And we are dwindling, again, back down to 5. Like, it's amazing to see this deck shoot up in resources and then back down to 5 and then back up to 10 and then back down to 5. It's actually pretty cool. Not gonna lie, we've done a surprising amount of damage so far, but I don't think this is even really sniffing lethal, but I could be wrong. Yeah, we're gonna reduce some damage here. We got Travis down to 4 total foundation zone, only 1 ready. And we are basically able to quick create all the damage away. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, we're just going to see some build out here, which makes sense to me. Looks like we had a new training method to pick something up that we really wanted. And we are back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 foundations. You know, on the precipice of deadlock. And 2 cards in hand. But that's alright because we have Passing the Torch and Momo to guide us through. So, effectively 4, maybe 5 cards in hand. And all against a 5-hander who doesn't currently have momentum to draw cards, so you potentially have a block for every attack. I kind of like this play, right? Like you don't really want to block Merciless Rush when you've been dealing with this kind of stuff, but even if you do, we now have the foundation replacement set up for the next attack, and we get to gain 1 off of this. So we can block this one. Oh, another minus damage. Alright, so we're definitely not. But we now are set up for our next 2 attacks that if we want to give the -2 speed for Momo, we stay resource neutral. And that's definitely a good call to build out after that. Even though we are losing any semblance of a lead that we might have had. Electromagnetic Stomp. What a cool little card, especially when you have the forbidden text on Study Group Leader. Take the 4, gain the 3. It's such a close game right now. It's actually painfully close. Mineta, of course, starting at a higher life total, quite a bit higher actually. Even though both have very strong defensive effects, so they do have, I think, lower than average for their hand size. But, Mineta started with like an extra 5 life and now only has a 1-point life lead. And that stage on Momo's side of the board is constantly in fluctuation. Touch of Decay is an interesting opener here, but, it's primarily played just for its combo, But it does count as an attack that if you don't block it, he just gets to draw a card. Ooh, we're going to block with a +4 on this one. Kind of crazy, but Momo's got the chops for it. Shigaraki, unfortunately, not checking well on that turn to dust. Trying to really get that can opened, if you will. Yep, staying resource neutral by building the weapon foundation. We love that. Reducing the speed. We love that. And the third, and I believe final Evil Gaze in the deck, right? I believe we played 2. And we have now checked 1. Yeah, there's 3 removed from game, so that is the last Evil Gaze to worry about. But your life total's pretty small. It's something you should worry about. Man, 8 to 9 is a crazy life point exchange. We are again set up to have some great -2 speed weapon plays, so I really dig the double quick creation early on from Travis. We'll still get like 1 progressive difficulty when blocking, but at the same time we make sure that we stay resource neutral. Like we get -1 speed for one of the 2, right? But we stay resource neutral, which is way more important. I'm going to see a cycle come out from Hayden. Not something I was quite expecting to see, but not surprising against a Momo. It does seem like he tried to bait out, maybe he drew it off those cards, but it did seem like he tried to bait out a face shield a little bit by playing the Cyclone on a 7 instead of a 6. So we'll see if it pays off for him here. Interesting. I don't know if that ever had a prayer of hitting him, but we did get to move some cards around. We had to add some stuff, right? So Travis now going to cycle. Going to shuffle, cut, remove the 10. A decent amount of attacks, but Momo only needs a couple. If it's not every cannon blast is probably fine. Oh, and another back. Is it every turn? No, he took 1 turn off the build. He had to take 1 turn off the build. I was going to say, did he play back alley every turn as the first card? But it can't be true. It's just crazy. Back alley is the MVP. It's a crazy card. I would take it out of my Toga deck, but, back alley is insane. Maybe it's got to stay. Momo getting to bring up floating because it's a weapon and effectively move it to the top of its discard pile is, not something to sneeze at, really. Oh. Oh, man. What a terrible time to yawn, because he blocks with the cheerful uppercut, and then Travis plays tongue whip, which is just insanely depressing. He just clogged himself for an additional damage. That's so rough. I mean, you don't just get to take that back alley, right? Like, you have the mid block for it, you have the difficulty block, and you have the ability to reduce speed 2-0 and spooky in attack. There is a lot of really cool plays that can be done here. Realistically, you need to block this one. Uh-oh. I was going to say, realistically, you need to find a way to block this one, but then have a momentum to reduce the speed and spooky the next one. But he's going to settle for just taking 5. Ugh. And I don't think these cards are long for this world. There's a stun out, make it 0. It's effectively 3 speed, now it's effectively 5 speed. Yeah, there's the handshake. Okay. Yeah, man, that one's rough. That's a rough matchup for Mineta, too. You just kind of get to cruise, do everything you want, and Mineta doesn't get to rely on the wonderful defense that he has, the wonderful stifling defense. So, didn't get a ton of value out of those once per turns. What can you really do? That might be something in the future, especially if you want to keep playing Mineta 2 with me with Momo around, is have a backup plan, have a side character, maybe one that doesn't rely on the card pool so much, unfortunately. Deck's pretty cool, though. The Fury Death lineup being more popular than Water is kind of shocking, but I'm kind of here for it. So definitely go check out Hayden's deck profile, The Eggman. You know, they're a content creator, I believe, for the Digimon card game. And I got to meet them in Pasadena. They're a very cool person. So we had a little chit-chat with all the creators at that point. And, you know, definitely a channel to go check out, see them talk about that deck and their experience. They can tell you much more about actually having to play against Momo than I can. But that was a pretty interesting matchup. It's good to see, like, you know, we kind of all know how it goes, right? But you see it in action. You see it really is. Because there's a lot of matchups on paper that people think are really easy. Like Kurogiri into like half the aggro decks. And it's just not that simple. You know, a lot of them aren't that simple. So I think this one is. And we even saw there were times where Travis wasn't just putting a weapon up and then building it back down. Like there were times where cards did kind of get stranded in the card pool, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't able to get over that hump. So, you know, as far as Momo goes, I think we're going to talk about it a lot tomorrow on stream. Tomorrow is going to be the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. It's at a special time. I'm going to post this stuff on Facebook and in the main MHA Discord. But we're actually going live at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 Eastern. You know, my guest is from the East Coast, so we're going to be moving up a little bit. I'm going to have Matt Childress, who you can see on screen right here, casting with Andrew Holder. We're going to have Matt Childress on the stream from Universes Academy, so that's going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited for that. We're going to talk about their experiences casting this event, you know, all this stuff that they got to see. They got the best seat in the house, right? So it'll be really awesome to talk with them, talk about, you know, their ideas and what they saw from the Momo matchups. They got to sit through the Momo mirrors and experience it better than anyone besides the two players. So maybe even better than the players. You get a lot more information when you're watching than when you're actually playing. So it's a lot harder once you're in the hot seat. But that's going to be tomorrow. I hope to see you guys all there. I'm going to end the stream here. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me, watching some games. Hope you enjoyed the deck profile, which will be posted up on YouTube later. I'm going to get the socials in there. I think this is my Nightbot command. Yeah. Past broadcasts, all that good stuff over on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all next time. I'm out.